What's up, guys? Welcome to the very first ever episode of Imperfect. On this show, we will be talking about everything imperfection. We believe that you need to be the best you can be, strive for the idea of perfection, but understand and always know that you will never, ever be perfect. Just always be the best human being you can be. Today, we got an awesome guest, but before we dive in, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, the Plant Research Group. These are some amazing vitamins. I've been taking them for a minute now, and they enhance like your heart and brain function. I'm going to put more details in the description down below, but they are fantastic, and we'll dive right into this very first episode. Today, we have the great Jason Vesser, business owner, full-time student, 5 kids? 6 kids. 6 kids while going to school full-time running a business and is blowing up on YouTube as we speak. Oh.
It's a lot, but I do what I can, anyone who does any media or editing or whatever, they know that there's many nights where you're up till 4 a.m. It's pretty much the same thing, except I got to get kids ready for school at 8.
You got a lot of things you're not battling, but you're just dealing with. You're juggling so many things. You're 6 kids, full-time student, running a business and uploading to YouTube at least once a day, most of the time twice. It's blowing. It's doing good. You're doing good. We got a lot of awesome subjects we're talking about today. Business like marketing, strategy, what the behind the scenes are of business, running a business. So much things to dive into. But first, how you doing? How you feeling?
Oh, it's a good night, man. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me to the podcast.
Yes,
guys. This is it's an honor, Gage. So we collaborate quite a bit.
A lot.
It's good to be here. Love you, man.
I love you, brother. I know we've been doing a lot of stuff. We met in a class.
Yeah, last year we had a class
together. And like the very first full sentence he said to me was like, "Hey, you want to do a wedding expo together?" I was like, "Bro, I'm in."
It's like, I've seen your work. Here's some of mine. What do you think? Do you think we'd do well with this? Yeah. Hey, let's do it.
That was pretty solid. Solid. Let's dive in. Let's dive into the bad stuff.
Okay.
The bad stuff of a business, man.
So first and foremost for me, number one thing is starting it. It's funny we talk about the wedding expo. We went into that before we were even a business, and they required a business EIN or business registration.
EIN number, yeah.
Yeah. So, very first experience with setting up the business was kind of Google, IRS. What do I need to
start
have
business?
A EIN? And that's literally out the gate what we did, or what I did. And the funny thing is it took like 15 minutes to get the EIN number. It was the easiest thing ever out of the step of the process.
Mm-hmm. But then you got to get the licensing to run the business in the state.
Oh, yeah.
You got to get all that approved. You have to get your tax information, your federal, your state, correct?
So
it's stressful.
If you are just looking into it, definitely don't just Google how to get an EIN number.
Find an accountant.
Yeah, there's so much more. You have to check name information, like with the state registry. Yeah, definitely talk to somebody rather than Google. Google is great for starting and getting an EIN number. But yeah.
I thought the same thing, like starting Gage Horn Studios. I was like, man, starting a business, like this is crazy. I did a couple of gigs before and I was like, it's time to do this. Sitting down, you're like, holy crap, it is so complicated. The amount of things you have to do to legally run a business. And then by the end of it, they're like, after just literally a month of torture, calling the mayor's office, calling this person, getting this approved, being able to run a business out of an apartment, blah, 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 like doing all those things. And then they'll be like, all right, now I want 15% of all of your income. And you're like... Really? What is this?
Yeah, making sure that... So in the state of Idaho, and I'm not sure where you're at, but the state of Idaho, for the very first year, they expect you to submit your earnings quarterly.
Quarterly.
So
every 3 months.
3 months. And it becomes such a hassle.
But it's not even just state. It's federal and state.
Yeah,
So you have to go into the system, and even though we don't get state tax because we're a service, we don't give a physical product. We stay away from everybody wanting the MP3s and all that kind of stuff,
yeah.
or the hard drives or whatever. We're like, nah, because if we do that, then we get taxed on state.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that you have to put $0 on the state thing, or else you will get fined, which is ridiculous.
And it's a hefty fine. It's $500, And
did you get it resolved?
Oh, everything's good now.
Oh, good.
I went in there and I spent hour and 45 minutes just talking with a state tax official, and it was one of the best things that I did. If ever you guys are just dealing with something, go and talk to the tax commission or whoever runs the taxes in your state, because it saves you so much unknown.
Yeah, so much unknown, so much, because we would have been paying on. No one tells you not to pay state tax.
Yeah,
they'll tell you what you need to, but at the beginning you're like, oh, I better pay my 5, 6, 7% to state tax. But then you're like, when you told me, I was like, wait, what? You don't have to pay state tax if you don't give physical things.
In the state of Idaho,
one told me that.
In the state of Idaho, if it is digitally received. And what that means is through online, or if you are not physically handing them the product, then there's no tax. You're a service.
And we're not accountants, so just take this all with a grain of salt. But
it's different state to state.
It is different state to state, but this is what we've learned and have been told throughout the time of our business. Jason and I run a very similar business. We're both almost the exact same. We both run video production companies, and we get asked a lot, even for people looking on the outside or inside. It's like, you guys are in the same market. How do you guys compete? But it's like, I think of it like this: there's so much work, bro.
Yeah.
There is so much work. And there's been times when I have a load, so I give you stuff, or vice versa, or we get big projects where we need each other. Like, it's worked out really well.
I completely agree with that. And then the other thing, too, is a lot of people really, when you're talking to a client or whatnot, that they'll have an idea for a video project, but you can give them 5 or 6 different things that they're able to use videos, or it's like websites, Facebook. There's so many things that you can make content for. So it might start off as like something like, oh, I need an advertisement for broadcast television or whatever, and you say, well, hey, I took a look at your website. I think a video here might be able to help. Like, there's always things that
need improved, need done, need added.
Yeah, so and that's another thing, just because you're talking about the just wide range of things that we have. It always have an opportunity to make a sell. Research people before you go in.
Exactly. Especially, it's like sometimes there are things that don't fit me very well. I'm like, Jason, this guy that owns the JVS Media would be really amazing at this kind of project, or vice versa. Or when we had the big client come to both of us with Nuclear, we were like, hey, let's both jump onto this. We need 2 videographers. Let's.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the thing is at the end of the day, there's going to be jobs that are more than one person jobs. But for my business, I'm a sole proprietorship.
Right. Same.
And what that means is I'm not able to hire employees, but I'm able to subcontract.
Exactly.
So when it comes to these bigger jobs,
and the big difference is like a subcontractor, you can come to me and say, Gage, I will pay you $500 for this day's coverage.
Yep.
And that's a subcontractor because we're both sole proprietorships. But if I'm like, hey, I need you to come work for me for a week, I'll pay you $9 an hour. I can't do that because, again, I would need licensing. I need an LLC. I'll need insurance.
You essentially need to change your entire business model.
Exactly. So much simpler to be like, just wait by project. I don't have to pay you until the next big project or thing comes around,
Yeah, and that's the nice thing as well is it's good to network.
It's really good to network.
It is really good to network because when it comes to double bookings or things like that, it's best that everybody wins.
Exactly.
You
That they get a good deal. They're getting good quality people or good work.
Yep.
I'm definitely on board with that. It's definitely, it's a lot of people look at this like, that's bad. Like you guys, and people do, like when I went to the wedding expo and I started talking with other wedding videographers, they like look down at me, or they don't want to talk, like I'm going to steal their secrets. I'm like, I'm just being nice. In fact, like if I have a wedding I'm booked for and I think your work's dope, I'll mention them to you. I'll be like, yo, I'm booked, but check out this amazing guy. Like, why would you not want that contact?
Yeah.
The
at the end of the day, we're all in the same field of business, and so where we live, our city has maybe 3 or 4 videographers.
Yeah, total.
Total. And the thing is each one of us has our own companies, and it's we are in a city of 50,000 people, and I would say probably 2,000 to 3,000 businesses. And the goal is not to try and just keep everything exclusively to you. Like it's nice if you have a client relationship.
Very much so, yeah.
That's built that way. But at the end of the day, I would never ever want to see you go hungry, or you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
And
I won't want to see my worst enemies go hungry. We should all be able to eat. Maybe we just don't want to eat at the same table, but we should all be able to eat. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's the thing is like every person in our industry, I think, deals with the highs and the lows of calendar appointments, where you'll have a
lot
peak
of people
period, and you just have to
cope with it.
Yeah, you won't have enough time.
That was August for us.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Definitely.
We got so busy. I was like, I need your help.
Yeah.
Or when I had that big client with big Red Cross, I was like, yo, I need these videos edited by like 48 hours. They only gave me like 4 days, and I was like, I need you right now, and I have all this other stuff, people hitting me up, like
you can't do it by yourself. Anytime you think that, you're a fool.
Exactly.
Like,
you
literally.
need to like, okay, like I got this project's due now. I needed to like branch out a little bit. Jason, you got time? I'm gonna throw you a couple projects, and you're like, yes, let's get it done. But speaking of all that, let's talk about a big project we talked to.
Sure.
That we did.
All right. So
it sucked. No,
well, the thing about it is I think that there's certain things that you have to tell the client that So everybody has a client where they just keep asking for things, and so when we were talking about this client, right, the thing out the gate is there was always, in addition to, well, we would like this, but we have another video guy who's an editor in Ireland or whatnot,
and he's going to do X,
and he's going to be editing all of these. However, can you do 2-minute segments?
Yeah.
And that was that's day one.
That was day one. The very beginning was like, hey, we want 2-minute segments or like some short clips and of like 5-6 videos, and that's kind of what we talked about. And I knew the project from the beginning, especially when he asked specifically he wants 2 videographers, and I was like, yo, we can handle this. But the biggest thing from the beginning of this whole client project is that I never specified exactly, and this is why now we have such thing as contracts, because at the time it's like really easy to be like, oh yeah, free, I'll do what you ask and blah, 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 until it comes down to it, and you're like, I need a piece of paper signed that I can reference, that I know exactly what we're doing. Yeah. Because we went into this project where he wanted all the raw footage to make, maybe make a documentary or something like that, but he also wanted these 2, later found out, 10-minute clips of each of these 5 days. That's possible, but it's extremely hard. You shoot that completely differently. Like, for example, like when I gave that example to you about the wedding, when we go and shoot a wedding and they say, hey, I want all my vows and I want the whole speech, you set up a lot of tripods from different angles and you get like 5 cameras on them, and that way you cut to, and it's very stationary, so it's not as cinematic, but you get every moment of their facial expressions and what they're saying and the whole vows, and it's going to be a 30-minute piece. But if someone says, hey, I only want like 2 minutes of a cinematic of our vows, but the rest just like, get shots, and then I can like move around, I can get movement, I don't have to stress about getting the exact like lines, I can get all that kind of stuff. But if I were to try to like shoot it and try to get as much footage as I can and try to cut it cinematically, it's really, really hard to do that, especially when we're talking about 5 cameras that have been recording, 5 or 6 cameras that have been recording for 6 hours, 7 hours.
Oh yeah,
I mean, we're talking about what is 30 hours of footage?
Yeah,
into a 10-minute video.
Each day had its own unique thing. The first day was the conference, and they had 4 cameras set up already, and then we had an additional 3. 2 were held by or being handled by us, but then the other one was just basic tripod cam that was.
But we had us on 2 high-end cameras getting around cinematic shots.
Yeah,
but that's the beginning of this whole thing was my mistake of thinking we can shoot this much stuff in 4K. With 30 frames per second. That is so much footage. We had to leave for 30 minutes to go get more SD cards to hold all that amount of footage.
Well, and I think part of the issue was just communication with, or just the client did not explain well in the notes. And here's another thing is... So clients will give you different pieces or schematics or of what it is that they are expecting.
Right.
And with that, until you get to the project or location, you really kind of have a guideline of where you're going to set things up, but you can get in there and see that there is no back wall, so you have the sun just portraying through, windows, and all of your shots are going to be way different than you.
Exactly.
And
it overall it sucks because this dude that hired us is an amazing guy.
Yeah, he is.
They are doing amazing work. Like, it was one of those things. It was like a lose-lose situation. But I take full responsibility bringing you on and promising him things that I couldn't do. Like, I thought it would be easy enough to show up, shoot 30 hours one day. One day was 30 hours. And then we had, 2 other days equaling like a total of 5 or 6 videos. I mean, we're talking nearly 60 to 70 hours total that he wants me to make 5, 6, 10-minute clips. And it's like, just to do you remember when we got back? Yeah. Just to transfer
it was like 2 days.
The footage. No, it was like 5 days. Yeah. Because it's not like I'm there every time. I got other stuff I got to work on and stuff like that, and I have all these other clients, but I can't even use my computer because it's transferring 4K, 30 frames per second. So it took a week for me even to like get it all transferred. Then I had to go in and spread it all out, organize it. This is this day, this is this audio, this is this. And so it took about 2 weeks to get everything just ready to go.
Yeah.
Then we had to get everything over.
And the other thing with that as well is when you look at these big projects, during that period of time, it was our peak.
Yeah.
And literally for me, it's typically normal to have 2 or 3 projects at least in the week.
Yeah.
With the whole month of August, it was back to back to back to back.
Yeah, it was like 6, 7 videos a week. Let alone some of them were bigger productions.
Well, and the whole thing with what you're saying, just so people have an idea, you literally can't use your computer because you're transferring
even high end, bro.
To edit.
I mean, this is a custom built $3,000 PC that I loaded up on credit cards, mind you. That I had a custom built from the ground up with some of the best specs you can get with $3,000. I mean, people will fight you and say you can get a great computer for $1,000. So I put in bigger money to make a better PC. But when I threw in that stuff to start transferring, all of my weddings and all that stuff was on hold. because my Premiere would just crash. It would freeze. It'd do all that kind of stuff because you're right. It will not transfer. So I mean, the whole thing about this project.
Oh, I need
You're good.
I need to be gentle.
But the whole thing about this project is it was just one of those things that I think I went into it a little bit. Like, it was a big project, and I was excited. Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing that got me is I was a little bit too excited. Oh, my gosh, this is good money. I'm excited. I want to get into this, and I thought I could handle it, but I was not all prepared. But it's something I think like would have saved the whole thing is if I just was really clear in the beginning. Like I said, the contract paper was just to put it on paper. But if I had just said, listen, what specifically do you want the videos to look like and to be like? What's the purpose of it? Where are you going to post it? Know the audience. Then we can actually know what we're shooting for while trying to get as much footage as we can.
Yeah.
But going through 60 hours was not ideal.
With that project, if I are looking back, the two things that I would probably go back and redo. One is pre-production. We would arrive, and the time frame between all of the locations was very, very, very small. So we literally arrived, and they said, "Okay, well, it looks like you've got your cameras out. Let's can we get our interviews out of the way?"
And we're just like, man, we don't have things set up.
And there's and
it's crazy we haven't scoped you right. I mean, all of this I would take like full responsibility. This is nothing on this guy. This is just an adventurous
just
kid.
Opportunities.
Exactly. I'm just an adventurous kid. I get this call. Hey, here's this big project. I'm like, yo, I want to do this. Like, I hit you up. I'm like, let's do this. And you're right. And because it was so much, it was just small things. Like, I didn't know how much 4K 30 frames per second took until we're there. And I had 5 of my 128 4K loaded things filled up.
We were there for 6 hours of conferences.
Yeah, and we had to leave, bro, just to go buy a bunch more. So that's just the one thing. But then I need a hard drive to store all this footage on between the days. That was, $300 or something like that.
We were literally at the location. So I brought, I have an 8 terabyte drive, and we were literally having to transfer and also delete different things as well, just to make room.
Because you're like, wait, is this transferred or not? Because, if we delete this, we lose all that.
The other thing, too, is, like, we were literally... So, the time it was taking to record onto the cards and getting them over to the PC... PC literally was taking double time it was taking for us to capture.
So we'd make all this footage, and then we're getting, like, one SD card back. 3 SD cards, one SD card back.
The client actually pulled out a computer...
to help us.
So
we had 2 laptops going transferring footage.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I'm saying. If we went into this being like, hey, I just want 10-minute highlights of each event, dude, this would have been easy. We would have shut up, know what we need to get. We wouldn't overshoot. I mean, we got literally so many duplicate clips. Oh, yeah. Quadruple clips. Same clip 10, 15 times.
And that's the other thing as well is, like, literally at the end of the day, the amount of footage, because they had the cameras rolling as well, but at the end of the day, the amount of footage became the nightmare. Oh, man. As far as when I was building the timeline in that, the cameras that they had, I typically didn't use those. You know, it was mainly the ones that
the handy cams.
Yeah, the handy cams that they had set up, but
because they brought 3 handy cams and we brought 2 of our professional.
They had so they actually had 5 in the
5 the first day. Yeah,
first
5
day.
handy cams, and we had our 2 professional cameras. Right.
Yeah. Well,
and we understand
3. I had the Mach 2.
Yeah, we had that guy on a tripod.
But it was a good opportunity just to look back at, and with the projects and that, because you brought this up, but what it did is it pushed back all of the other projects. So it not only were you filming and trying to get that out to him, it forced you to be in the position where you were literally pushing out other clients as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to call you and be like, "Hey, I need you for 3 days, and I'm gonna take 3 days of my time and go out and film." Like that sounds easy, but what I didn't take in consideration was the effects after the 3 days was 2 months of stress of just trying to go through. I mean, I'm so overwhelmed. Like taking a 2-hour wedding video is overwhelming. You know, at first you're like, okay, there's 2 hours of footage, gotta go in and make it to 10 minutes. Okay? Yeah, 2 hours of footage, make it 10 minutes. Like it's creative, it's fun. I love that process. But when you sit down and you put 30 hours of footage in front of you, you don't even know where to start. I mean, I rewatched the 2 hours maybe at least twice. 2 to 3 times, you know, so that's 5 or 6, 8 hours right there. But when you sit down with 30 hours, I don't have that time.
At the end of the day, it's just becomes anyone who's done editing and that editing is so different than shooting. Editing is almost like 4 times the amount of time that you shoot. Easy.
It's fun. It's creative, but man, the workload.
When you're on a deadline, it becomes
stressful.
Just so much stress. You know, like literally you're up until 5 a.m. You have to have this piece out by 8
a.m.
And then when you go to produce it or whatnot, especially if it's 4K, it ends up taking 2 hours to produce. And that's another nightmare. You know?
The thing with you though, especially with you, man, because let's say you get you go shoot something and they say they want it tonight. Maybe it's only like, like a 30-minute shoot and they want like a 2-minute video, right? But with you, you're like, okay, like I can get that done. But the thing is okay, you just realize that you have a quiz or something due that day. Or you have a paper due that day. Or no, let me get there. You get 2 things there. But then you get home and you need to put all your kids to bed, bro. You have 6 kids that you need to focus on, spend a little bit of time with, maybe even with the wife, and then finally it's about 8 p.m. and you're like, man, I got to do the homework, and then by that it's already midnight, and you're just like, holy crap! I literally like am mind blown how you do that all by running a business, having 6 kids, and having to push out client work. I mean, that's where the stress comes in. It isn't like me when it's like I have to come home and deal with a couple cats, and I have deadlines and homework and things like that too, and I got a fiance, but I don't have 6 kids that are going to come in and interrupt me 10 times, bro.
The biggest thing is whenever I do a project, I set time in the day that is set for shooting, and typically that's after my office time. The stuff that I do typically is in the office.
Exactly, because that helps, huh?
Oh yeah, trying to. There are so many distractions at my house.
That's what I was gonna say. So that's what I'm saying is like insane. That's why it's got to be that makes a lot more sense. That way you can kind of get that separate time. Like when I'm at the office, I can focus, but when you're home, I mean, it's gotta be crazy.
It's funny though because you talk about that. Our YouTube videos are not shot until about 11 or 12 at night.
Yeah,
and then typically I spend an hour and a half, an hour to 2 hours editing. It all depends on the video. By the way,
shameless plug, the Vesser Bunch on YouTube. Go check him out. But that's what he's referring to is he has these 6 kids, but to be able to shoot, you got to start at late in the night when you get all of them in bed. That's gotta. Do you hear that?
Oh.
That's got to be annoying.
What it is the springs that are making the ting sound. Well, anyway, but the other thing too is YouTube has changed their policies on kids.
I saw that, bro. They have to let them know, especially if it's a kid audience, let alone if there's gonna be kids in your videos.
They completely take away your monetization as well as your comments. So
that's ridiculous. But the things that are going on in the comments in some kids' videos, man, it's getting a little disturbing. I just click on not even a kid related video, but there'd be this clip and there'd be comments be like, hey, check out 30 seconds in. I'm like, bruh, this is creepy.
Well, I get why they're doing it, but at the same time, it's just like, man, I look at it like this. YouTube is the start.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to hit Facebook and Instagram and all of these other platforms, and all of these people who have big channels in that. I hope that they've been saving money, especially if it's kid content, because it's gonna destroy them. It's
gonna very much destroy them.
Yeah.
But it's rough, man. But I love that you're grinding and all these things. But with that, going back to that project, I mean, it was a big project. I think we both learned a lot. It's a lot more better communication. Definitely, I got to keep you more, better communicate with you. So it's like,
well, at the end of the day, every project is going to have its good and its bad things, and the worst thing, one of the worst feelings is disappointing a client.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly. And one of the best feelings is when they love that piece, and you're like, it brings so much gratitude.
When you get a call back 3 weeks later and it's like, hey, we got another thing for you.
Man, I love that so much. And you build that relationship with the client.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things to do. But it's like, I think the very first couple things like we did, I mean, we went to a wedding expo. If anybody's gotten married out there and looked for a photographer and videographer, we had a wedding expo where we did $750. Okay.
Oh,
$750 for photo and video. I did the video portion. He did the photos. He's a photographer as well. And so we did the photo and video for $750, and we did really good stuff. I mean, we're offering all-day coverage. We're offering drone footage. We're offering audio. Hundreds of pictures.
That wedding expo, we literally went in there just. Our goal was to blow up and completely undercut the market that was out there. Just establish
the only
ourselves.
Ones there.
Well,
I mean, only video.
Yeah, only video. But
there's a couple photographers. But we did really. We booked 7, and 3 or 4 of them had to do with you. I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah. It was a good startup. I would say
that's that beginning though. It's like,
however, in that, because we're talking about just networking and that, how many of those were double bookings or so again, it's always good to make sure you're connected.
It's just learning. Like when you start a business, like I didn't even know all the amount of things. I mean, we're talking all logistics and technical work.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so much more to it when we're like, oh, we need a website. We have to make our own website. Oh, we need social media. So not only when you pull up to
gotta
a
figure
shoot,
out your hashtags and SEOs.
You're the audio guy, you're the lighting guy, you're the video guy, you're the editor, you're the writer, director. You are literally everything to get back to the studio to be able to do a little bit of animations for the title work.
Oh, yeah.
You got to be able to edit the work. You got to be able to post it, know what time of the day to post it, where to post it, how to link it to your website, all of those kinds of things.
The other thing, too, is with our field, one of the things that, so in our area, again, small city, under 50,000, but determining the value of your work for clients, and for me, I do like client-based pricing. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to charge somebody who's a small business something I'd charge
outrageous.
For a dealership, but at the same time, there's jobs where your heart, or bids, not jobs, bids where your heart just aches for the client. You know that they've told you that they have maybe 3 or 4 months before they go out of business and they can't afford much. And
exactly, and you want to work with them. And that
the thing is I in my experience, if they don't value you out the gate, or where they,
respect your work, want to pay you for what they think you're worth, or what you should be worth.
They'll keep asking for additional things, and it gets to a point where you're just not.
You're talking about definitely like with projects that are like, when they want you to like, oh, we do it for 200, we do it for, and you finally break, I'll do it for 200.
I'll do it. I know you guys are hurting right now, and then it's just, then it becomes
can you shoot this as well? Can you make a second commercial?
They know that what they're getting is undervalued or under the rates, and then they try to, in addition to this, can we get that and get that and get that? And
dude, I literally had a client, right? I was talking to this guy. He wants me to come out and film $200 a thing, and he's like, can I do $200? $200? I'm like, okay, cool. I show up. hey, you know, why can we get some photos? I'm like, okay, I don't know photography. I'm learning photography, but I don't know photography. Like, that's a whole nother setting in this camera that I haven't touched.
Any person that thinks photography is easy,
oh, wrong,
they're so wrong.
We almost failed our photography class. It is, it's rough. So, but, you know, getting real, this guy wants photos. And I was like, you know, talks me into it, fine, I'll include it, right? And the guy has the audacity, bro. Audacity before what I finally like. I don't want to make it awkward. We're literally like out in the middle of nowhere filming this thing. He goes, I was like, I don't know about photos. He's like, dude, I have you out here for I'm paying you $200. I think we should be able to add some photos. I was like, are you freaking? First of all, let's talk about this. I am literally an hour away from home, and you gave me $200. This has cost me like $20 just to get out here. Now I'm at $180. Let's talk about taxes, bro. That's when it drops me down to like $140, $130. Now you want photos, which I would tack on. Let's just say I profit $100 from this. But now when I go home, I'm not making this, you know, 2-minute video. I'm making literally hundreds of pictures. He had me take all of these pictures that he wanted, and I sent it to him all raw, of course. I don't want to put any. Oh, can you edit them? Can you edit them? Come on, like, you took them, you should be able to edit them. I'm like, the disregard that some clients have of like how hard this stuff is, especially like when they're just not thankful. Like, if he was just like, yo, can you take some photos for me, please? Like, well, I'm like, oh, I'm not a photographer. He's like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, well, I can take them for you, but I don't know how they'll turn out, but I'll give them for you. And he was like, oh, and he was like, yeah, thank you, man. I would love that. But when people are like, have their hand out, are ungrateful, and they're like, oh, I deserve this. It's like, no, you deserve what I promised you. I promised you a $200 worth video of me coming out of my time, not charging you travel fees, not charging you anything extra, taking some pictures for you.
Was that a real estate one?
No, it wasn't real estate.
Okay, I get that a lot. So
I'm sure real estate agent.
Yeah, I've done several real estate things, and I literally have to tell them, you know, I have a promotional going on right now that we could do this under, but, you know,
it's going to be extra.
This is specifically for the video. You know,
and that's what I'm saying. It's like, being a sole proprietorship compared to like a business, it's harder because we are our business. Like, we are our business. So when we go out there, we're like, yeah, like, I can definitely take some extra photos for you. Like, that's not my bad. It's just, I hate when people expect things, or when they, you know,
assume.
It's the same thing with the wedding. Like, that's where the contracts come into play. Like, with the wedding, it's like, now on a piece of paper, I can reference, like, this is exactly what you're going to be getting by hiring me to be your videographer. Because I've had too many times, like, oh, I saw one of your videos had drone footage. Like, you didn't get drone footage from me? It's like, well, no, we didn't talk about drone footage. Like, well, can you go back and get drone footage of the venue? It's in town. It'll be like really quick. And it's like, but it's like, you don't discuss those things. But you just think in your mind when I say, hey, I'll shoot your wedding. This is this and this is what I'll do. But then there's stuff that you don't talk about.
You know, at the end of the day, it's hard because you hate being the bad guy.
I do.
You know, and that's the worst thing is because it just...
Wait, hammer on the nail, whatever.
Yeah, you got it. Well, at the end of the day, like, either you're put in the position where you're the bad guy, or you're put in the position where you should have said no, but you didn't, and now you've increased your workload fivefold.
At the worst time. Yeah, doesn't that remind you of a project we shot with a wedding?
So...
Same exact thing. I mean, this was before this nuclear project. When we pull up to a wedding to film this wedding, we promised again, wait, and that was almost the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But they wanted every single second of their wedding film. I cannot stress this enough. They had us there at 8 a.m., and they wanted every single second of getting ready to when they close out the thing. They wanted what would it be, 7-8 hour total video without missing a second. I mean, there's nothing going on. Like, everyone's just eating. Oh, but you didn't film everybody eating? I'm like, well, and you want that too?
Here's the other thing about this, and this comes down to undervaluing your work, because you told me just what the person's budget was, and it was next to nothing.
It was going in so low,
and here's the issue: is they had a band come up from Mexico.
Yeah.
You know,
they paid a band of 25 people.
Yeah, 25
from Mexico.
A band, you know.
And I'm like, why am I charging so cheap?
Not only that, they had the full lights, the stage, everything.
Man, they had
and at the end of the day, you told me what the project or what their budget was, and I'm just like, oh man,
dude. And this is the exact same.
How dare they?
Listen.
How dare they?
I know. I absolutely love what I do and what you do too. Like the whole video production, I love it. I love everything we do. I respect it. I respect my clients so much that, you know, and these are just a few out of, you know, the hundreds that we've done. But what I'm saying about this is I hate when I finally give in and it screws me over. It straight up screws me over when I'm like, hey, your budget's really low and you want a whole wedding filmed beginning to end. And here we are a week before. We've already talked about everything. Oh, you're not going to have a second videographer? I'm like, well, no. He's like, well, how are you going to shoot everything? And I'm like, you're right, because I probably couldn't shoot everything because DSLR cameras have a 30-minute recording and I need somebody. Yeah, so not only am I doing this for a thing, I have to cut my profits in half, which is only a couple $100 to hire out my main man to come out and help film so we can cover the entire thing. I did that out of my own pocket. I could have told her, hey, listen, you're only going to get what you're going to get. I have a couple other bad cameras, and I'll film what I can, but I was like, hey, I'm going to hire another videographer with a nice camera out of my own money.
And just so people understand that what that project would have been was like a $4,000 project.
Oh, dude.
You know, a $4,000 project for the, you know, and the thing about it is like they didn't see that. They only saw that they paid X amount for videographers and they thought that every moment, and they just they didn't value the work, you know.
And this is, again, I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't knowledgeable enough. Well, I put some responsibility on me, but it's like I just kept saying yes to when I should have said no. Yeah. I should have said no. Listen, I can't give you a full thing. I'll give you maybe like most I can, but I can't give you every second. But I promised that anyways. I fulfilled my end. I pulled up with a second videographer with the camera to film this entire thing.
I'm glad I was there. I'm glad I was there.
It would have been a nightmare, bro. It would have been a nightmare, but I kept my promise because, listen, I mean, they were a good couple. They were a nice couple, and I still respect them to this day. If they would have paid on time. That's not even including about 5 months later.
We'll talk about late pay here in a second. You know, here's what it is. Here's what it is when you're just getting into the field, you know, you'll do jobs that you normally wouldn't do.
No, you'll do anything when you're starting a business. You'll do anything, bro.
It's desperate for work.
Dude,
you know?
I would have paid a couple to let me shoot their wedding video at the beginning, bro. Like,
I was watching a YouTube thing because at the end of the day, who do you have to learn from? You learn from people on YouTube. There's
the people
not
around you.
The people, at least here where we're at. A lot of them are professors or, you know, but at the same time, they haven't done it in a while, or they've worked for a company that does it, you know, and
I mean, we're talking about one-time dudes. I mean, this was just inexperience going into that project.
Yeah.
And I promised maybe more than I should have, but I just kept saying yes. Yes, I'll film everything. Yes, I'll get a second videographer. Yes, I'll pay him out of own pocket, not charge you $1 more. Yes, I'll do X, Y, Z. I just did so much.
It goes down to that thing that you're so afraid to be the bad guy that you'll lose the job.
Exactly, bro. And that's where I sat down. I was like, I'm just going to do yes. And then finally the whole thing's over, bro. And I did everything, bro. I did everything I promised. I felt good. When we finished, I was like, man, this is going to be a lot of work. We're talking about 10 plus hours of footage. Probably 15 hours of footage, easy.
Yeah.
And cutting all that down to a 6-hour video, having every moment captured. We're continuously moving. I mean, it was just hard work. But the thing is like, I felt good because I kept my promise, and the couple was happy. I was very, excited. Until I sit down for 3 weeks, I get a wedding video made that's, about 6-7 hours long, or I can't remember how long, a really long time. And I export it out, which took forever, by the way. And I send it over with a watermark, of course, to get the rest of the money. And then, of course, I'll make revisions, which is crazy because making a revision on a 10-minute video is a lot of work, let alone a revision on a 6-hour, 5-hour video, whatever, is a lot more work. But when I send that over, and I don't get a reply. And then a week later, hey, there's this. 3 weeks later, hey, you're going to, pay the rest of your invoice. Finally, I'll pay you next week. That whole back and forth, I'll pay you next week, I'll pay you in 2 weeks, I'll pay you next month, don't get a reply. I'm emailing. This went on for 3.5 months. I put in my time, money, energy, and effort to make this awesome piece for so extremely. At this point, I lost money because remember we had to get SD cards there. I had to rent another camera, so I lost money. But I went out of my way, bro, to bring the best video I possibly could, and they don't even pay the rest of the invoice.
Yeah.
What?
So another thing that we'll talk about is dealing with money and clients and budgets and
being the bad guy
as a sole proprietor. And I guess this is a good point to if a client doesn't pay and you set the expectation, for me, the way that I budget or I set my my periods, I don't do like 30 days, I don't do 14 days, I do based on my need.
Exactly.
If a client is wanting to do a video or whatnot, and they ask me what my time frame is, there's two things that I factor in. One, if they're a business, if it's a large amount, if it's typically I have them pay everything up front. Okay. Right. If they tell me that they can't, then in my mind I'm thinking, okay, well, I have this bill and this bill and this bill that need to be taken care of. That total amount is this. We'll add an extra $100 to it, and then that way I don't have to worry as much. Exactly. 6 kids, food, whatever, all of those things.
You got a lot to worry about.
Yeah. So if there is an expectation that somebody is going to pay a certain day,
you got to plan on that income, and especially like you say, it will kill you when they don't. So I mean, you gotta say, hey, when I say this money is due, on December 15th, you expect December 15th so you can use your finances around. It's not like we're making all this money. For God's sakes, we have a lot of stuff loaded up on credit cards just to even try to start this business.
And that's the other thing too is here's an egg on my face moment, right? So what happened was I had a client tell me that, everything looks great. I'm going to run it by my manager's meeting, but you're welcome to go ahead and shoot. I think this is going to be a go, or we're pretty much set that this is a go, right? So he didn't want to sign it just then until he had his manager meeting, but he literally had me start shooting, and anyway, I kind of started working on a piece, and I'm like, this is going to be an $1,800 deal, great.
Right.
Whatever. A week later, I've called him twice.
Man.
And then I just go in and I'm just like, hey, I've got a little bit of this done. I can show you just kind of a mock-up,
Right.
And he's like, you know what? That looks really, really good. I haven't I haven't had the manager meeting on Saturday like I was supposed to. But yeah, it's looking really, really good. And I'm just like, perfect. I'm gonna get this gig, whatever. Right. Yeah. I went to Vegas under the impression that I had an $1,800 deal in the back. Whatever, in my back burner. And anyway, so I had that.
This was the last time, like a free minute that he finally got to get away from the 6 kids.
Yeah,
we finally got a little bit of time because we take a couple classes together. Finally got a little bit of free time from all of the homework, from your main core of jobs and YouTube. You got to get away from all of that heavy amount of stuff to take a break. Like, he very much deserved this vacation with the little they ever get away from this town.
So I had a couple of... I didn't go to Vegas under that impression, of course. But I had 2 checks. One was a wedding, one was a client in the processing or whatever.
Right.
So... Anyway, thought everything was good. We're down in Vegas, and my the $1,400 wedding check ended up bouncing on me. So we're in Vegas, and I'm just like, okay, everything's gonna be all right because there's whatever. I have this thing that is gonna take care of that when we get back, whatever. So I get back, and this $1,800 deal that I'm just so sure of, that they just say that they don't have the budget for it, and I'm just like, oh man. See, so not only am I in the hole from the, and then I had to go and try to deal with the wedding couple, and
and trying to get income just to make it through.
And kids,
exactly.
Nothing worse than feeling like you can't feed your children.
Oh. Dude, that is depressing. But dude, seriously, there's a lot that, like, when you're running your business, like, you rely on that income, and you have to, like, plan for this kind of stuff. And when clients say they're going to pay you, it's whatever. It's like, we're not a big business. Like you said, we are a sole proprietorship. We are just one person trying to get through college, trying to dip our toes into the real world, shoot a little bit of projects. And it's just mind-blowing with, like, really professional businesses that are like, oh, yeah, like, let's get this done, and then they never send the check. You know what I'm saying? Or even wedding clients. Like, we shot a wedding. Remember, we shot that wedding, and we thought this was a big budget wedding. We traveled pretty far to go there.
Oh, yeah.
They rented an entire resort. Like, it was huge.
Send everybody up to the top of the mountain.
Exactly. And this is exactly why the contract and invoice thing comes into play now, because we didn't know. We trusted, and it sucks. Because you wish you could talk to people, and there's people I want to trust, like, oh, I don't want to do a contract, like, I'll just pay you. I want to believe that. I want to do that, but you can't. In your mind,
you just want to keep it as simple as you can. But
dude, it's like, it takes one person to ruin it. Like, you'll get 9 out of 10. Like, I'll pay you on time. I'll do everything on time. And then you get that one person. And this is why we have contracts. This is why. Because here we are up there. To this day, we shot that. When did we shoot that?
Oh, that was August 26th. That one was August 26th. Yeah.
So we're talking about
So we had a back-to-back wedding that week, too.
Yeah, like, we did, day by day. But that was 3 months ago. And we have, to this day, have not been paid.
Yeah.
We have not been paid, which is ridiculous, because we've had the person that managed the wedding has reached out to us. Oh, yeah, like, they're going to pay you. Can you send the video? And, of course, I'll send the video with a huge watermark over it, But it's like, man, it's like not even. It's like
it's like you're helpless, dude, especially if there's helpless. Like those moments where,
and especially like when it's December and it's like we don't have weddings, like we need to get some income to kind of keep afloat for a minute. And the people that were supposed to pay you, I mean, I have 4 or 5 projects.
You want to know what one of the most embarrassing moments was for me in my business, right? And I learned that I needed to switch my phone.
Right.
So coming into it, I had those pay-as-you-go phones or whatever, and I was hoping that I'd have a paycheck. So I do like $150, $200 graphic design things,
right?
Like small things. So I was expecting one of those to have paid or whatever by the time my phone was due, or else my phone would have been shut off. That morning, right? I got a text the day before, and they're just like, "Come on in at like 9:00, and we'll get you paid or whatever." And I'm just like, "All right, perfect. I'm gonna take care of my phone bill, whatever." And anyway, I went to call them, and my freaking phone was shut off at like 9 in the morning. So I'm literally outside of the business. My phone service is completely shut off.
So you can't even call them.
I can't even call them. And so I'm kind of like knocking at the door, and they're just like, "Hey, came to the door. We just tried calling you, and is your phone shut off?" And I'm just like, I'm on the stupid pay. Like, I'm literally trying to explain it to a client.
Dude,
and I literally went and took the check to the bank just to go pay my phone bill, Like,
but that's the little things.
And people don't think that. People think that if you're a business, everything's secure. It's not that way. No.
And that's what I'm trying to say, man, is when we're going around chasing money for the things that we rightfully done. And like I said, a lot of these people we've talked about, why didn't even get paid? the rest of the money for things that I went overboard on. I spent money on to make sure that they got the best of the best, and then I'm yet to see the rest of the invoice they promised. And that is why, like I told you before, when I'm talking to all these photographers, big professional photographers, they charge
up front
30 days before the rest of the invoice needs to be paid. And I hated that, because this is what I'm talking about. I want to be the guy that says, hey, 50% down before the wedding and 50% when the video's done.
Yeah.
That way, you'll love it, and like we can, if you don't, then we can talk and negotiate whatever. That way, like, everybody's happy. But I can't do that, because then I have to spend all of this time chasing, months and months chasing. Hey, I need this money. I need you to pay me. Like, I have bills done too. Like, it's so stressful, and that is why now when people call me, I'm like, I have to have the full money 30 days, because I can trust myself not to be an asshole and make sure that they get a good quality product. And say I lost their footage or something that's also in my contract, I will give all the money back. Like, I can trust myself because I know myself. Yeah. But I don't know all of these clients that you're meeting on the very day of. I don't know if they're going to pay me. At the end of the day,
when...
Dude, broke or not. I mean, we've shot some low-end weddings or all the way up to the top, even the wealthy ones. And here we are like, man, this is a huge, expensive wedding, and we're yet to be paid. Yeah. They love our work. They've already said they love our pictures, they love our video, but hey, when it's time to pay, they won't send us an email back.
Yeah. Well, and half of the thing is and I've gone through wedding before, and yours is coming up, and the thing is they're expensive. So in your mind, you're just like, okay, well, that they're already dealing with so much expense. And you just want to be the good guy, You just want to be the good guy.
You don't want to be the bad guy. Be like, hey, but it's like, hey, I need you to kind of pay me for the work that I promised you and did my portion. It's time for you. Well, but I'm with you there too. But let me say to this, it's like, if I tell a client, like, it's about, like, let's say it's 30 days before the wedding, I'm like, hey, I need the rest of the money. They will find every way possible
to
because
make sure
they want
you show up.
They want to make sure that you film the wedding. But when it's after the wedding, they know you're not going to delete the wedding video. Like, no, I'm never going to be the a-hole that's like, oh, you didn't pay me? Delete. Like, I'm never going to be that a-hole. So.
At that time, it's on their time, and it's, when it's
convenient.
Pay you
when you want it. Like, they're not going to, like, they'll have the wedding video forever. We'll pay them when we get a little bit of extra cash.
The trouble with what we do is it is not small amounts that we're dealing with. This is
some of these
things that are big.
I mean, the wedding that we did together was like $900. Where
$1,000 check is a big deal for us.
Literally, I've missed rent numerous times,
and it's terrible when you look at your invoices, dude. I had a situation where I had two bounce on me.
Man, I know. In Vegas.
No. That's different. That's different. No, this was another time, and thank God they had paid. But yeah, it was just a nightmare dealing with that situation because, number one, you think that the money's there, and here's another thing: is not every business has secure finances. Yeah, exactly. And both of these are business ones that I'm talking about. A $1,500 one and then a $1,300 one. This is in the same day coming back.
That's what I'm saying. Listen, it's okay to be imperfect, bro. Yeah. It's okay. I'm a shameless plug this shit because it's the first episode, but it is okay to be imperfect, and it's okay. I understand when things happen. I just hate when clients are not up front. Listen, like at my wedding, exactly. I already told a person that's doing my wedding, I will not be able to pay you until 2 months after, and you bet you I will make sure that person's paid 2 months after. Yeah. Trust me, I will take out a loan to make sure that person's, but he agreed, and I'm thankful for that, but I will make sure, go everything out of my way, even if I have to embarrass myself and ask my mom for money to make sure that this person is paid for, because I promised that. That's just how I am. But I understand that people are imperfect, and all of us. I'm definitely not perfect either. But what I'm saying is, when someone tells me for next month, I'll pay you. 2 weeks, I'll pay you. 3 weeks later, 3 months later, it's like, bro, just be honest with me. Are you going to pay me or not? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, give me a date. That way I can plan financially. Because I can't, like, oh my God, rent's due this month. I need the
can't
money
hold
to
your
pay.
breath for it because you'll end up dying.
Exactly, bro. I literally, you're right. Like, I literally just ignore the money. Like, if they email me one day and want their wedding video and pictures, great. But until then, I'm done. I'm done trying to reach out and give these people their work.
Well, once the horse is out of the barn, it's hard to chase them. And in our jobs that we do, we're videographers. We're not collectors. We're not anything else.
Exactly. We're not like marketing, research, video production.
There's so much that we handle, and it's just a nightmare trying. It's so much extra stress.
So much extra stress. I don't want to be the bad guy. And listen, I understand when things go awry. Just please be honest with me. Like, I'm never going to be like, oh, listen, like, okay, like one of my clients, like my husband's in the hospital, and she like shared a Facebook picture a couple days earlier of like this $30,000 hospital bill. And I'm like, this is insane. I was like, listen, take your time to pay me. We'll talk about it after we shoot it, whatever. Shot it. Not even a couple weeks after, she's like, hey, listen, I got the income and was able to pay me.
Yeah,
and it's like, it could have been months or whatever, but I was like, listen, like, I understand, take your time. But she was honest with me and said, I'll tell you in a couple of weeks what's going on. She just happened to have the funds to be able to pay me, but she did email me in a couple of weeks and say, hey, this is where I'm at. And this is what's going on. That way, like, I don't have to like run around and chase because, like,
exactly. Well, and
I hate being the bad guy and the good guy. Like, I want to go out and film fun things, and I want to connect with my clients. I love clients. I love weddings. I love shooting. I love editing. I love working, directing. Like, everything about it is amazing until the financial comes into play.
Yeah,
it's like,
the creative side. There is so much. Every week I find myself just watching tutorials because I'm interested in learning something that just looks amazing. Like, how'd they do it?
How did they do that effect? Yes.
But when it comes to the finances, the way that that we deal with things is we hustle. Every client project, it doesn't just, typically they don't come to you. You have to put yourself out there. You have to market. You have to, and I have on numerous occasions gone business to business looking for jobs or looking for work.
You did good.
Like,
you did good
Cole
work.
Chevrolet, like
literally going out there being a salesman.
That was here. Let me. Is your sales manager in, or is your GM in, or?
And you brought your iPad.
Yeah, I bring my iPad and I just say, work. Hey, here's what I do.
Legit.
And
that is work. That makes like you said. I mean, that's just another extra thing. Is it's like you have to find the work.
Yeah.
You have to do the work. You have to give back the work. Get the money and then showcase that work and try to get something on social media.
You literally are a full project manager, but you go in and you just write some notes. Here's what you want. All right, I can create something. Here's just off the spot what I'm thinking.
Exactly.
If they like it, if they don't, typically if you shoot something to them, if they don't like it, they have their own idea in mind, and you go with that and you create it. But the thing is it's hard when you have so many projects lined up to find the time to go market.
Exactly.
Email marketing doesn't. I haven't had. In my 6 months or 5 months, I've sent out probably 300 emails and got 2 jobs.
Yeah.
It's
the same about me with Wedding Expo.
Yeah. Wedding Expo, that one. You know what irritated me about the Wedding Expo? I'm just going to throw this out there. All right. So we were at the Wedding Expo, and across from our booth was a lady who was charging $4,000 just for pictures.
Just for the pictures. Mind you, this is $750 photo and video.
And anyway, one of the people who signed up for us, right? She came to our booth, and she's just like, somehow we got into like a conversation, and she's just like, I would choose any other photographer than her. And I'm just like, really? And she's just like, she did my cousin's pictures, and they never ever even got the photos from her. And do you remember seeing her? Them saying, well, anyway, the thing is at the end of the day, we made the 7 weddings or whatever. She came over to our booth and she was just kind of snooping or asking, how'd you guys do, you know? And we're just like, yeah, we did all right. How'd you do? And she's just like, well, I've gotten 6 gigs. It's not what I wanted. But in my mind, I'm thinking,
6 gigs.
You've gotten 6 gigs.
That is ridiculous.
And we were doing this for 1,000, you know. So she made 24,000. She made them pay up front, you know. So in that period of time, see that goes back to being. Your goal was to, or not your goal, our goal was to kind of just be, you know, for the market and
be cheap as possible. We wanted some portfolio.
Yeah, and the thing is at the end I'm thinking, how the hell did she get $24,000? And they came to our booth and saw that we did photo and I'm just like, we were starting we were brand new and we didn't have a good portfolio. Well, I didn't for photography, you know. I did one wedding prior.
But it was, I mean, she definitely had some work, but it still is. I think we still had some good quality stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, we had some really good quality stuff. Be able to I would say that we would probably at the time be worth $1,500, $2,000 photo and video, and
$2,500 easy.
And we were out there doing photo and video, and we did some awesome work. With the couples that we got.
Oh yeah, you know? Definitely. The thing about that though is I think the lesson from that is if you're too low, people think you're just not good.
Exactly.
You know, that would be an opportunity for that situation.
Dude, literally, when I go to the store and I see the knockoff Lucky Charms, I'm like, nah, the
can't
Lucky
be
Charms.
As good.
Exactly. Can't be as good. It's got to be the actual Lucky Charms.
Yeah. It's true. So.
Well, Mr. Jason, I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
To sum up all this and kind of end our first ever episode of Imperfect with the great Jason Vesser.
Glad to be here.
But speaking of this idea of being imperfect and having imperfection, like what would you tell somebody with everything we talk about, the clients and starting a business and the imperfection that we had to learn the hard way and better ourselves and things like that? What would you tell a new business owner to do to kind of avoid this client work or anything else we discussed?
So, an observation from the business standpoint is that definitely have to say no to things. Like that's at the end of the day, you do have to be the bad guy.
You do.
As much as you want to help, it ends up hurting you in the long run because
you have a business to run.
Yeah, so much time is wasted on things that you should have said no to. Like there's been things where I have just been irritated where I'm just like, you know, why am I even doing this? I shouldn't have said yes when I should have said no. So
exactly, it was a big project.
That would be
know what you're getting yourself into beforehand. Be clear communication. Hands down, want to fix a lot of situations.
Charge interest on your invoices. No, I'm being so serious. Like I learned something from a hospital, right?
Right.
And did a thing for a hospital, and so I sent them the bid, everything. There was no interest. I thought, hey, this is a hospital. They're going to get the payment out really quick. So 3 months go by, and I'm kind of paymentless. And I sent them a thing, and they said, oh, well, we do... we operate by the quarter, and, you know, the budget for next month is what we were using this for.
Right.
So, and I'm just like, well, I didn't realize that. And they sent me a thing or their next email was, well, it typically, if somebody isn't charging invoice, we use it out of the next, or I'm sorry, if somebody isn't charging interest on their invoice, we send it out for the following quarter. And I'm just like, oh,
Well, I am charging.
Why didn't I? And I had already signed the stuff, but
it makes sense. I mean, that's just how it is. If you don't pay on time,
there's interest tacked on.
There's interest, late fees, all those kind of things, which you hate to do again, but it's like, I mean, this is what we're talking about. The amount of stress that comes with it. I feel like it's almost justifiable to be like, listen, if you're 3 months late on your thing and you finally have the money, here's $100 late fee for the amount of times that it contact you. I can't even stress. Like, it sounds so easy with a text, call, and email, but when you do that dozens of times in that period, and you're going through their BS, I can't pay you. Yeah, and I'll pay you. And I hate when they're like, I will pay you on Friday the 13th. And you text them on Friday the 13th, I can't pay you for 2 weeks. Then why did you tell me you could pay me today?
And the worst thing is like you literally, so they have one person that they tell that to. You literally have to talk to your people. It's like, all right, I said I'd pay this day, but you guys, I hate that I'm having to do this.
Exactly.
But I have to move the payment again, and I don't know when my client hasn't responded,
Exactly.
And, another thing, too, is don't think that somebody's a client until the second job. Once you get through the first, like the first one
that
is
relationship, test the waters.
Don't try to be buddy, and that's another thing. Don't go in there with the mindset that you're trying to do everything that you can to help somebody, because at the end of the day, they might put you in a position where you're gonna get screwed.
Exactly.
Because of being nice.
You have to be professional.
Yeah, test the waters.
Exactly, test the waters from the great Jason Vesser.
All right, we'll wrap it up. Gage,
well, Jason, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah,
the very first episode of Imperfect. One more shout out to the Plant Research Group with these awesome vitamins. I'm going to give all the details and some information about these in the description below, how to contact the person to get some of these, but I'm promising you these things are sweet and they help a lot. They make your insides feel good.
Help you definitely think clearer. For sure.
Exactly. Well, Jason Vesser, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Until next time, have a blessed life, brother.
Peace.